All right, everybody, we're all situated now. I think everything's good. Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of Under the Dome. I'm your host, Alan Ulrich, with my sidekick here, co-host Sean Williams. How you doing tonight, Sean?
I'm doing fantastic. Apparently, Barry didn't uh, blow y'all out of River Ridge, so
Hey,
uh,
like they said, looks like we made it, Barry.
and those of you who are not old enough can Google. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, we got some rain, a little bit of wind, but nothing too terrible out of the whole thing. We want to
I
thank
said,
everyone.
I, I was going to say, I said that storm should be named Maurice because it really loved my peaches and shook my trees.
Again, those of you who are too young can Google that. We want to thank everyone for joining us tonight on Under the Dome. We invite you to subscribe to our show on iTunes and on YouTube, and to follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. The time does draw near.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday, the rookies report. So, yeah, we're almost. This is how I look at it. When the veterans show up, which is a week from Thursday, and the first padded practice begins on the 27th, from now, that day, until February, is Saints football news. So, that's how you have to look at this. That's what makes it really exciting. No more scrounging for topics anymore.
Yeah. We're going to get this, man. We're going to get this. I think.
Oh, pay the bills? I'm sorry, I cut you off when you're trying to pay the bills.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. I finished paying the bills.
Oh, okay, all right, good deal.
We are at one little announcement. We are efforting towards our third anniversary show. Wow, 3 years. That Let me pull my calendar up. Um, that will be actually our first show was, if I'm not mistaken, July 29th. Was it not?
Wow, I think you're right. I just
Uh,
yeah.
we will we will be doing our third anniversary show actually on the 30th, which will be 2 weeks from tonight. Uh, gonna have some surprises and likely have a special guest or two drop by and celebrate with us. Not gonna tell you yet who it is, but
Not gonna do it.
uh,
Not gonna do it.
nah.
Not gonna do it. I'm not. I'm not as good as Dana Carvey. Sorry.
Again, we're just gonna wear out the Google thing tonight.
Oh yeah. Well, if you don't, yeah, I forget about that.
We'll just
30 years ago to me is 1979, and it's clearly not. But
yeah,
that's my thinking.
yeah. Uh, we're just throwbacks, man. Uh,
Yeah, or
Life was
dinosaurs,
so
one or the
much more
other.
complicated and so much simpler back then.
Hey, isn't there a song about that? Okay, so with training camp coming up, this start with rookies there for a week, and then the veterans show up next Thursday. What do you think, or what would you say are the top five biggest training camp battles we should watch or look for this year?
I think probably the biggest one is going to be in the secondary with
Yeah.
the rookie. I can never remember his name. Uh, the kid from Florida, I think, right?
Oh, Chauncey Gardner Johnson.
Yeah. Uh, he's gonna. I feel like he's gonna come in and shake things up. I really do, and it's gonna be at a position I won't say that it's at a position of need, but it's about as
Mhm.
close as you can be to being a position of need without being.
Well, I mean, clearly, you've got somebody who's hungry, who can play center and corner, and it's going to really change dynamics of this team. And that is going to be a fun battle to watch because he's going to be he's competing against, in the cornerback side, Patrick Robertson and your favorite player, PJ Williams, for the nickelback spot. And then he's also going to be competing with Von Bell and Marcus Williams for the safety spot, because he is a safety corner hybrid right now, and he may end up being a safety. But right now, they may want to try him at the nickel position if he turns out to be the ball hawk they think he is, that he was hyped to be.
Yeah. Our man Jerry Poor just corrected me. Our anniversary day is the 20th.
The 20th. You know what else is the anniversary day of the 20th? Apollo 11, the moon landing. Today was the day Apollo 11 was launched 50 years ago. And then the moon landing, will be the 20th.
How did I not know that?
Oh, it's been on my Facebook feed forever because I'm a NASA geek. So I've been seeing updates all the time. And I can hardly wait for the conspiracy theories about how we never actually went to the moon, that it was all CGI, although they didn't have CGI back then. It was all special effects, although if you watch Star Trek, the special effects were not very good to be able to pull something like this off. But it is what it is. I mean, they did it the 40th anniversary back in 2009. They'll do it again. So
you're probably one of the most intelligent people that I know. So
you don't know that many people, then, do you?
Really don't.
No, I'm just kidding.
Can you explain to me what all of this social media and you guys can just give us a second. It's not like we have a plethora of content tonight. What is the buzz on all social media platforms about Area 51?
Okay.
I know what Area 51 is. I don't know why all of a sudden everybody is.
Somebody decided, and I've only seen the memes, that's how I know about it. But somebody decided to organize something on social media that they're going to storm Area 51 to find all the quote unquote alien stuff. Okay? That they're going to expose the government secrets, that people who've watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too many times have decided there's a giant warehouse in Area 51 full of alien technology from spaceships that crashed in the 40s. Okay? And they're going to find the alien bodies, and they people have made statements like the stealth technology that some of the fighter planes have and that kind of stuff came from technology they figured out from aliens. Whatever. The reality is, when it comes to and Area 51 is supposedly the area they've found us. And I threw that in there. They've also watched too many X-Files, too many Project Blue Books, that kind of stuff. So they're going to storm this. What's a military base? So yeah, good luck storming a military base.
Yeah, that is probably one of the next to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That is probably one of the most secure locations on the face of the earth.
But you also have people who believe that Illuminati is still real and all that stuff. So I mean, if you listen to, and I got a friend of mine who's a truck driver, and he drives to and from terminals. Okay, he basically picks up a load and drives it from one terminal in one city to another. And that's all he does. He'll do that all night. So his runs, while he's doing his runs, all he's got to listen to is talk radio. Well, I'm sure he's got satellite radio and things like that too. But I mean, all he got really listen to is talk radio. So if you ever listen to late night talk radio, that kind of feeds that whole Area 51 kind of stuff. Weird stuff, UFOs, alien abductions, all that kind of thing. It's that kind of topic. I don't know if aliens ever read Social Media Visit Us. Anyway.
Okay.
So that's basically it. It's somebody organized on social media, and people are clicking that they're going, they're interested. And so it's up to like 1.3 million people who are supposedly going to storm Area 51. Well, if 100 people show up, I'm going to be surprised.
Yeah, no, stupid idiot.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay, one of our people in the live chat Chad has said that the wide receiver battle should be very interesting.
Yes, it should be. I mean, clearly Michael Thomas is number one, but we don't know what we have after that. So you've got Ted Ginn Jr., who has to show at 34 years old that he can still play the way he played in 2017. You've got the youngsters. You've got Keith Kirkwood and Tre'Quan Smith, who are really in a fight for their jobs.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, they're going to make because they made it last year. Not necessarily. And then you've got everyone else at the end. And that can lead, start off with little Jordan Humphreys from Texas. But, it's really, that's the bulk of it. So, yeah, who fills out numbers 2 through 6 in the receiving corps? Because all that's wide open to me.
Yeah. And if it's anything at all like it usually is with Sean Payton, there's going to be like 75 wide receivers in camp when it begins.
Mm-hmm.
One by one, they're going to whittle them down and get to the last 6 standing.
Well, you've got Austin Carr, you got that kid Sammy Cobbs, who we never saw. So you've got people who were on the roster last year who are not necessarily guaranteed a spot again this year. And I think Austin Carr is one of those guys. I will be surprised if he makes the team this year. Honestly, I will be surprised.
Well, for him to have come in the way that he did from the Patriots, and to have so much hype surrounding him, and we never saw anything of him the first year. We saw, I think, 1, maybe 2 starts the next year in the wake of what's his name?
Snead's suspension. Yeah, that was a big thing. Was he going to be the guy who's going to take Snead's job? It never happened.
But long story short, we have seen absolutely nothing from the guy.
You really haven't, no. Emmanuel Butler is somebody that we used to hear a lot about. He's a little speed guy, and what's going to happen with him? That's another guy that people are curious about. So yeah, it's a lot of unknowns. Cameron Meredith, I didn't even mention him.
Yeah.
But Cameron Meredith, we signed him, and he should be your number 3 guy. He's who can play the 2, but he's really your 3. He's 6'3", 207 pounds. He's produced at a pretty high level over there in Chicago. So,
and that's another player that came in, and we thought the bar was going to be up here, and we come to find out that we've seen absolutely nothing from him.
No, I mean his knee injury pretty much killed his season last year. He wasn't fully recovered. So, you've got size with that kid, and he's got some speed, but we have to see if he could put it together. I mean, Keith Kirkwood is basically a clone of Meredith. He's the same size, around the same weight. So it's going to be a battle between Kirkwood and Meredith to see which one of those two really, takes the job.
Yeah, and with Kirkwood, you've got the same, as you said, the same size and build and speed that you do with Meredith. You just don't have the bad knee.
Bad knee with a high salary.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though he renegotiated his deal, is he going to make the team? I don't know. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot to see now, and I'm curious about Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think he's a great possession receiver. I don't know if he's gonna be able to generate separation at this level. He's got the physical ability to do it. I don't know if he can generate separation, and he may be somebody that we try and stash either on the practice squad or he becomes injured and he goes on IR so we can hold on to him for another year. I don't know.
I think another positional battle that's going to be interesting during camp is going to be that front four on defense.
Absolutely.
We're going to lose the big guy for one game.
Mm-hmm. Onyemata's out for a game.
And we're going to start the season without the other big guy.
Wait, Sheldon Rankins.
Yeah, Rankins.
You're gonna start at least the first 6 games without Rankins.
Yeah.
Chances are he won't be back until. Are you hearing those alerts? Are you hearing those alerts, or is that just on my end?
It must be just you, brother.
Okay, good. Because I'm getting a bunch of them right now, and I'm gonna have to probably get out of this to get rid of this because it's aggravating me. Well, it's just I have Facebook open at the same time, and I'm getting alerts coming across, and I really don't need that. Anyway, you're not going to have Rankins at least until the bye week. So what happened? Who makes up your depth? Because your starters are going to be Davenport, Malcolm Brown, Onyemata until Rankins comes back, and Cam Jordan. With Onyemata out, Mario Edwards Jr. comes in as your starter. So that's your front four. So who makes up the back? Who's going to be your backup guys? You've got Stallworth, who was on the team last year. So Taylor Stallworth is probably going to back up Brown. But who backs up Edwards in the beginning? And then who's your third defensive end? Is it going to be Hendrickson? Is it going to be someone else? We don't know. I mean, here's the guys you've got in there. You've got a bunch of undrafted guys. I'm just looking at a couple of them right here. You've got a guy, Shai Tuttle. I mean, another guy, Corbin Kafusi. I don't even know who that guy is.
Roster players?
These are roster players.
For the Saints?
For the Saints. These are guys that are going to be in there in the mix. Wes Horton, heard of who? Carl Ganderson, yeah.
Your guy that you were hoping was going to be available.
Yeah, 6 months in jail. Yeah, 6 months in jail. So you got a guy, Gino Grissom.
I do that.
Yeah. So who fills out the back end of this defensive end spot? Because I think you could kind of get away with scheming away, or having Edwards play defensive tackle for you that first week against Houston, but you couldn't do it for long. So Onyemata's got to come back and in shape. He can't be out of shape. He's got to come back in shape after his 1 game suspension. He's got to, don't get hurt for sure in preseason. And then you move Edwards over to defensive end. He becomes your third defensive end, with Hendrickson maybe being your fourth defensive end. And that guy, Sylvester Williams, who they picked up He's a veteran. Maybe he makes the team as your rotational defensive tackle. So you could maybe kick Stallworth over behind Onyemata and have Sylvester Williams backing up Brown. So I don't know. I mean, that's going to be an interesting battle. That's going to be a lot of names to watch.
And the other one that I had is the battle that's going to take place, not necessarily with Alvin Kamara, but with the guys behind him in the backfield. Is Latavius Murray going to be the same Latavius Murray that we saw a few years ago in Minnesota, or is there going to be somebody that supplants him at that position?
That's the question. I mean, is Sean Payton going to have the patience to work Latavius Murray into the roster, or is he just going to give him a couple of carries, token carries, see how he does out there? If he doesn't look too good, you just start leaving Kamara in there all the time, because that has been Payton's kind of trademark. And then he comes back after the game's over with, and he realizes that Kamara, well, one player got 20-something carries, and the other guy only got 5. And he said, I got to figure out a way to get, spread the touches around more evenly. That's going to be a challenge, and then you've got some running backs behind them. Again, that's another one that's going to be fun to watch. You've got some undrafted running backs coming in here who are going to be competing for that third spot.
Who's Bob's guy?
Yeah, Divine Ozigbo. I think it's how you say his name. Ozigbo. Ozigbo. That's how I would say the name.
Okay.
He's going to be in a big battle with Dwayne Washington to see who makes the team.
Dwayne Washington was the one that we pulled out of the stands in that game last year, right?
Basically, yeah. He's the guy. He had one big game against the Panthers at the end of the year.
Oh,
yeah.
He
rushed for 100 yards in that game. So, let's see what happens in that battle. To me, the other battle to watch is going to be on the offensive line. We're assuming that Eric McCoy is going to be the starting center. But, you do have Cameron Tom and Will Clapp in the mix for that position. But the other battle to watch is going to be basically between Andrus Peat, Nick Easton, and either Clapp or Tom to possibly be the guard position. Because I talked about that way earlier, back in end of May, early June, that I said it is possible that the left side of the offensive line is McCoy, Easton, and Armstead, with Pete as the third tackle, and Clapp backing up Easton, and Tom backing up McCoy. That's conceivable. So we have to see what happens with this. How do these guys play out? I mean, if Clapp and Tom are total disasters as center or guard, that throws everything up in the air.
We don't really have what I would consider to be quality depth on the offensive line. We've got a pretty high bar as far as the starters go, with Ramczyk and Pete and Armstead when he's healthy, and the new center and
Eric McCoy, yeah.
Warford.
You basically have 3 tackles. Well, you have 4. If you, what do they have? Michael Ola. Okay, they got him listed as offensive lineman. All right. You have basically 3 real tackles on the team: Ramczyk, Pete, and Armstead. The rest of them are either center guard or guard tackle combinations. Yeah, they got Michael Ola listed as offensive tackle and Derek Kelly too. And then a kid whose name sounds awfully familiar, Ulrich John. Never trust a guy with two first names. Well, last name's a first name. But I mean, you have, and this was an argument I got in on Facebook earlier today. You really don't have veteran depth right now, almost in any position outside of quarterback. If you look at it, and that is just the nature of your roster now, because of the CBA. You've got to have the bottom half of your roster, your depth, be made up primarily of rookies, undrafted college free agents, and cheap veterans. Because you got so much money tied up in your core top players.
Yeah.
So you're kind of stuck when you're looking for depth. So if some people get hurt, that's when you start paying attention to the waiver wire now.
Yeah. So once again, people are starting to whisper that Dez is going to save us.
No, Dez is not saving you. Dez is not saving you.
Do we extend an invitation to him to training camp?
Well, first off, he can't even run. I mean, you saw that video of it a while back. He's overweight because he's recovering from Achilles surgery. He had trouble running to begin with. He had lost a step. So he's a lot less explosive than he was when he was a Dallas Cowboy. And that's part of the problem. People look at him and look at those highlights and think they get in the 2015, 2014, 2013 Dez Bryant, not the 2019 Dez Bryant. And as a result, you have an unrealistic view of what he looks like. What he looks like today is an overweight guy. He lost a step. And, he was a kind of receiver that really couldn't afford to lose a step because he played the X position on the offense. He wasn't a slot guy. He wasn't the speed guy. He was the guy who was the primary target in the offense. And that's Michael Thomas now. So he doesn't do you much good. You got to look elsewhere for a receiver, a younger, cheaper receiver. That's where you have to go if you need depth at your receiving.
Well, I don't see any scenario where he comes to training camp for the Saints anyway.
No, and why would you even bother bringing him in? Because he's not going to get signed by anybody. So bringing him in training camp that really doesn't do you any good at all. It does is take away opportunities for you to watch younger players. He's going to be available in December if you need him. He's going to be available in November if you need him. He's going to be available all season long if you need him, if you have to go to him. But there's no reason to bring him to training camp and take away the opportunity of a young guy who could be another Keith Kirkwood for your offense. It's not worth it. Evaluate the guys you got, then go out and see. After you evaluated them, go out and see what's out there when the teams start having to make their cuts.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. One of the things I'm going to say, the reality is 31 other teams are in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like, for example, New England Patriots. Gronkowski retired. Who's their tight end?
Ben Watson.
Yeah. 36-year-old Ben Watson caught 2 touchdown passes for us. Could not generate separation. He caught 35 balls. Is that an adequate replacement for Gronkowski? No. He's not. I've been writing too many Mike Ditka stories. I'm in the Mike Ditka years right now in Saints history, and writing all these Mike Ditka stories, I keep wanting to type Grabkowski, which was Ditka's term for the type of players he liked. He used to always say that you needed Grabkowskis on your roster, meaning you needed those blue collar, do the dirty work, not superstar players, guys who go out there with no credit, just bring the lunch pail and fight for you. That's the kind of players you wanted to draft. And the problem he had was if you draft, and I wrote this the other day about the 97 team, if you draft overachievers in college, what happens to those overachievers in college who were facing maybe 2 or 3 elite players each game now have to face 11 elite players? That's a recipe for disaster. You can get away with 1 or 2 of them on your whole roster. You can't build your team around a bunch of Grabkowskis. You've got to have a few Walter Paytons, a few, Jim McMahons, a few Richard Dents, Mike Singletaries. You need to have those guys too.
And the most deadly defensive back ever.
Oh, Fensick?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's who the 46 defense was named after. So going back, though, to the Saints, that's where we are right now in our offense or our whole team. We don't have a lot of depth because we just simply can't. We've squeezed out all the veteran guys that we had last year, didn't even activate. You think about a guy like what was that linebacker? Manti Te'o. Manti Te'o wasn't even active most of the season, but he was a veteran guy who had started before as your backup middle linebacker. We really don't have that this year. We don't have that kind of guy on a lot of positions who started for us or has started in the league for us. So it's going to be a challenge. You've got to be really lucky with injuries. I've got one more position to watch, and this will be the last one. It's not so much of a battle as it is an evaluation period. We already know who's going to be the starting quarterback. It's going to be Drew Brees. But the thing to watch in training camp is, of course, to see what happens with Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. Have either of those guys progressed?
And don't forget, the last time I checked, JT Barrett is still on the Saints roster.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is.
A year later, a year further along, a year in the system, a year learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, what can he do?
Right. And it'll be interesting to see. Personally, I don't want to play Brees the first 2 preseason games at all. I think it's more important that Bridgewater and Hill get a lot of exposure, especially.
Don't underestimate the maturity that you're going to see out of Taysom Hill, because the guy is a worker. He's going to be further along in this process than what a lot of people think. Now, am I saying that he's going to be Drew Brees or that he's going to be the heir apparent after all? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the guy works, and he has the eye of the coach as well.
Yeah, he does. He's a gimmick player. Well, he just makes you a much more effective gimmick player, if you want to call him that. If in those preseason games, he looks like he can run the offense and can throw the ball with some accuracy. Because if he can throw with some accuracy, it now opens up things where if he's in what you would think is the Wildcat, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to run. He may actually just drop back and throw. You look at those 2 passes, and granted, Andres Pete got called for holding because he was trying to block with one hand. But, you look at those two passes in the Eagles playoff game. I mean, he dropped that ball right in the bucket. He put that on a straight line and 2 touchdowns that were called back. Um, Changes the whole dynamic of that game. But let's see if he can do that all the time.
Yeah.
One of the knocks they've always had is, Sean Payton will fall in love with a gimmick and take his Hall of Fame quarterback out to play the gimmick. But to me, he's not going to take him out at critical times. If you watched like the Rams game, the NFC Championship game, Taysom Hill really didn't go in there too often. If it's a critical game and a critical drive where you need him, Breeze is in there. It's just
that was the only problem that I ever had with the Taysom Hill thing, because early in the season, what you saw was the Saints get down in the red zone, and all of a sudden you're lining a first ballot unanimous choice Hall of Fame quarterback up at wide receiver, or not even in the game.
Yeah. But if Taysom Hill is mature enough as a passer, then you now make that defense have to respect him being back there as, you know what, he could actually throw this football. He's not going to just try and run us over. If we try and blitz him, we could get burned. We need to defend the pass, because if we just ignore receivers back there because we know he's going to run or try run some kind of option play with Alvin Kamara, we have to respect those jet sweeps. We have to respect all those formations now, because he could just take it all, take the jet sweep, take the quick dump off, and then maybe hit Breeze wide open in the corner of the end zone because he never moves.
Going to catch one.
Yeah, so that's something to watch. And of course, with Bridgewater, which we've kind of been ignoring, but Bridgewater, you want to see, now you've had an entire offseason with the Saints. You've had one regular season, one offseason. How well do you command this offense? What do you do out there? And let's see you out there with the first team, the whole first team, for a series of 2. And you don't start Breeze into the third preseason game. Let's say for the first preseason game, you start Taysom Hill first, then have Bridgewater come in, and then JT Barrett to clean up. Second preseason game, you reverse it, start Bridgewater, Taysom Hill comes in, JT Barrett still does clean up. And in the third preseason game, you go Breeze all the way to halftime, and then do your Bridgewater Hill, and the fourth preseason game was just Bridgewater and Hill the whole time.
Yeah. I'm not gonna knock Bridgewater.
I will, because I think he's gonna be the king of dink and dunk. I really do, and I think it's a mental thing for him.
I've never, and this, I've never really bought into the Bridgewater stuff about him being the heir apparent to Drew Brees. And that's not a knock on him in so much as it is he's a different kind of quarterback.
He's a calculated risk quarterback. He's not an aggressive quarterback. That's how I see him. He's the guy that will take the check down over the deep throw, unless the deep throw is wide open. If we were talking about, here we go, more old dinosaur talk. If this is Top Gun, Bridgewater's Iceman, and Drew Brees is Maverick, okay? As far as their approach to the offense. And Sean Payton is Viper, all right? And Viper and Maverick can coexist and get along, because Viper's got enough of Maverick in him. But Viper is also older and more mature, so he doesn't take as many risks. And of course, Breeze, this isn't a perfect comparison, but Breeze is the guy who will aggressively go after something because he knows he can make it work, because he's got enough confidence in his ability, he's going to make it work because he's studied and he knows what to do. Whereas Bridgewater, in my opinion, Bridgewater is much more methodical about it, and it's calculated risk. He wants to do it textbook perfectly. So if the play isn't open the way he thinks it should be, he's not going to take that risk. He's going to take what is given him. And in the grand scheme, that doesn't make him conservative either. Now, don't get me wrong. He's going to put the ball deep. He's going to do things. But you watch Drew Brees throw these passes in these tiny windows, and you're like, how the hell did he fit that in there? I don't see Bridgewater doing that. What I see Bridgewater doing, unless he tries to imitate Brees, but I think mentally where he is as a player is, I'm not going to take that because that is a 25% chance of a completion. I'm going to take the check down to Kamara because that's a 75% chance of completion, and I'll live to see another down. And that's what I fear about him being our heir apparent or our future quarterback, because I like the aggressive nature of Drew Brees as a quarterback. I like that. I like when he does those things. Especially when we need a big play. He's going to take the shot. It may not work, but he's going to take that shot.
Well, those of us that have been Saints fans for so long, we watch him drop that dime to Ginn or to Cooks running up the sideline. But we also remember games where he would throw into triple coverage to try and get it to Graham, and it didn't turn out as well.
Right. But he's going to take that. He's going to take that shot.
That's the difference in being a journeyman and being a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep. I mean, it's something in him. I'm going to take that shot. If I can get that play, I'll put that ball on it just where I want to. That back shoulder throw, that guy's got perfect coverage. But you know what? I put it in the one spot he couldn't defend, and I got a big play out of it. And the fans just go nuts, and the announcers go, wow, how did he do that? That is the aggression. That is what I'm talking about as far as Brees' mentality. So when he throws the pick, he's pissed off at himself because in his mind, I should have put the ball here. I put it a little off, and that allowed the interception. I should have put it here, and that's what he's mad about. So
he's gotten, as he's aged, something that I would see out of him in those 7 and 9 seasons was the absolute desperation of taking the chance on that big play, taking unnecessary risks, and unfortunately, they not turn out the way that we wanted them to. And I don't see that as much now.
He doesn't have to do it as much. Andrew Juge had a great comment. During those 7 and 9 seasons when the defense was so bad, he equated a field goal to a punt and a punt to a turnover because the defense was so bad and couldn't stop anybody. You felt like the offense had to score every time he touched the ball. Every game had to be like that Giants-Saints game from 2016? Yeah, 2016. Yeah, every game had to be like that. The 52-49 game. You needed to score every single point because you could not trust that defense. Yeah. Now that he can trust his defense, he doesn't have to do it as much. So we don't see that aggression. And, I can hear people who defend Bridgewater saying, yeah, so if we get the defense will be able to protect him, and the running game will protect him. He doesn't have to be as aggressive as Brees. You're right, he doesn't. I just worry about in those games where you're playing a fellow elite offense, or you're playing a defense like a 49ers defense in 2011, like a Seattle Seahawks defense in 2013. You're playing that kind of team. Do you want somebody who's going to take the high percentage stuff, or you want somebody who's more aggressive? Granted, Breeze lost those games, but in my opinion, Breeze also kept us in those games and gave us chances to win that
Sure.
we just didn't. We didn't, especially the 49ers game. You know, you turn the ball over 5 times and you still come down to the final drive. You know, you take the lead back twice. You know, that's just something. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't think with not having Breeze, you're able to do that. I just don't. I just don't see it.
It's going to definitely, and it seems like we always wind up on this subject. But, you know, whether we like to think about it or not, life after Breeze is a lot closer than it is.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
No, that's absolutely. I'm totally convinced that Breeze was going to retire after a Super Bowl win or lose last year, because it's not that his abilities are diminishing. It's his kids. It's his kids' ages.
Much like Michael Jordan, when, of course, he had 6 titles, but with Breeze, what does he have left to play for? You can't say you're chasing titles because there's no way that you're ever going to supplant Tom Brady at the top of that list. But
No.
every Lombardi trophy and ring that Brady has, Breeze has a chapter in the record books. So, I mean, what else is there to accomplish for
the touchdown, all-time touchdown leader?
And that's,
I mean,
granted,
Brady's right behind him, but all-time touchdown leader. That's the only record he really has left to get. And winning that second Super Bowl, and I hate to say this because it pisses me off. It shouldn't be this way, but winning that second Super Bowl is going to be the difference between Breeze always being in that top 5 quarterback discussion all time. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Top 5 all-time quarterback discussion, and being thrown down towards the bottom with the Roger Staubach, Terry Bradshaw, Steve Young, which are all great quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong, but he keeps him out of that top 5 grouping where you've got Brady and Montana and you know, some of you are disagree with me, but Unitas, you know, those guys are in the top 5. That's where Breeze belongs.
Yep.
And I say this over and over again because we talked about this last week. Chris Sims' stupid listing he put out. If Breeze beats Brady last year in the Super Bowl, he's beaten both Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in the biggest game. He got a Super Bowl ring beating both of those guys. You're automatically in that top 3 conversation. It becomes over and over again. Breeze, Brady, Manning, Breeze, Brady, Manning, Breeze, Brady, Manning. You know, Montana is coming in that discussion, but it's Breeze, Brady, Manning, Breeze, Brady, Manning in that group.
Well, there's no guarantee that matchup won't happen in the Super Bowl this year.
No, there's not. But the further it goes, the less impact, I guess, it has. I mean, Brady's won 6 already. Okay. If Breeze beats Brady when Brady's going for his 7th, it can be like, yeah, but he's old now, you know. He got his 6, you know, it loses its impact, I guess, in my opinion. He's not as good. They're going to treat it like, well, he beat the old Brady. Would he have beaten the younger Brady if they would have
you
played
know
in
that they're going to throw those excuses up anyway.
Oh, I know.
And it'll start with those libtards at ESPN.
No, ESPN finally figured out they need to stop talking about politics and go back to talking about sports, because that was the middle name in their network. Entertainment Sports Network, not Entertainment Sports Politics Network, but
Well,
yeah.
They can't now because they run off all the knowledgeable sports people that they had.
I know. They're like CNN. They don't realize they're dying.
Yeah.
They blame everybody else, but they don't realize what they're doing is killing them, killing their network. No, and again, because I've been in the old, writing about the old Saints, I've been pulling up old highlight shows of Saints games, old prime time with Chris Berman, Robin Roberts, and Tom Jackson doing the highlights, and I forgot how much fun those were. I've got a few on videotape, and I only have one working VCR in the whole house, so I try not to abuse it because I want it to stay working.
Yeah.
But yeah, you watch those and all the Chris Berman nicknames he had, Matt Werewolves of London, and Chris Cab Calloway, howdy, oh, and every time Cleveland Browns receiver Michael Jackson caught a pass, Tom Jackson go hee hee. It was so much fun to watch.
When ESPN was what it was designed to be, it was good.
Oh, yeah. Chris Berman was even better with baseball nicknames. Brett, be home by 11. That was one play I remember. I remember vividly. It was just a lot of fun because
I'm still old enough to remember watching the NFL Today with Brett Musburger and Jane Kennedy.
Oh, I go back further than you, boy. Phyllis George.
Phyllis George.
Oh, Miss America.
Jane Kennedy.
Yeah, she was. Phyllis George, when she got pregnant, and then she sat out for a while. Jane Kennedy came in and took her place. But yeah, Irv Cross.
Yeah.
Jimmy the Greek. Yep, that was it. That was the NFL Today.
And that is where the broadcast career of Terry Bradshaw started.
Yep. Well, you watch all those pregame shows, and this is the thing about the NFL Today. This is how groundbreaking it was. They still follow the formats, and they do all the things that NFL Today did in the 70s. Now, granted, they've updated it. They've got skits now a lot than they used to have back then. But, the pick'em stuff, that goes to Jimmy the Greek. The players coming in with the X's and O's, that was Irv Cross.
Yep.
The human interest stuff, that was Phyllis George. That's it. And Brett Musburger took you to the stadium. You're looking live at Three Rivers Stadium, where today the Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Dallas Cowboys. That was how you knew. It took you right to the game at 11:30. That came on, and man, you were just ready for it. And it's all. That's how the NFL was back then. And it was a lot of fun to watch that, because they were creating the formats that all the teams have, all the pregame shows, whether it's NFL Network, the 3 hours on that, 2 hours on ESPN, or the hour on NBC, CBS now. I'm sorry, CBS and Fox. So NFL Today is, if you can find it on YouTube, just pull up the old NFL Today from the 70s. It was a lot of fun to watch those guys.
And I remember when I want to say it was Jimmy the Greek went to Cutoff to interview Bobby Hebert.
Yep, 1987. Yeah, I shared that on Facebook one time.
Yeah.
The interview, we went down to Cutoff. Yeah, that was when the Saints were doing really well in '87. Very young Bobby Hebert. And that was something you never saw. And of course, we're also old enough that, NFL prime time was when I was in college. Okay. But the old way you used to see highlight shows was Monday Night Football. That was the only time you saw highlights.
Yep.
Howard's highlights at halftime, or Howard Cosell. And all the phrases that Chris Berman repeats today, or not today, but repeated back then, and look at him go, and the tackling is brutal. That Howard Cosell would go on and on about these things. Right there, the guy, Terry Bradshaw, the blonde bomber. Look at this pass right there to Johnny Stallworth for a touchdown. Houston's down. That kind of thing. He would just short copy sentences, and that's that was, you were living for those, and you get pissed off if your team highlights never made it. And of course, the Saints were so bad, they never on the highlights. It was always the Dolphins, the Raiders.
The only time the Saints were on was when somebody else was making a highlight on.
Right, when we were playing the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Vikings, the Cowboys. That's when we would get on.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. It's time to make the donuts. So
yes,
you guys, please share the link with your friends and like-minded individuals, and subscribe to us on iTunes and on YouTube, and bring friends. We want to thank Fan First Productions for sponsoring us, and thanks as usual to our faithful followers, Jerry, Anna, Chad, Colin. All you guys rock, man. Y'all, thank y'all so much for participating in our live chat every week. And with that, I throw it back to my partner in crime, Mr. Allen.
Hey, one last thing I was thinking about while you were wrapping it up, and this just says real quick. You remember when the 3:00 games would come on? It was usually Dallas Cowboys and somebody on 3:00 game, or Pat Summerall would always do those games. They tell you, coming up after the game, 60 Minutes, followed by the Waltons. And he would always say, except on the West Coast. I used to be jealous of the West Coast. I'm like, God, they don't have to watch 60 Minutes like I do to get to the shows. I don't even live on the West Coast, man. We have to deal with 60 Minutes. We just go straight from the game to the Waltons, and Murder, She Wrote in the 80s. So
yeah,
I'm old enough I can remember when it was the Waltons at 7:00 Central Time. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next time. Hey, rookies start again on Thursday. We won't see anything. The media doesn't cover that stuff a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of practices and stuff with just the rookies. It's more classroom work. It's when the veterans show up and the first padded practice, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. That's when it really starts. You need a ticket to go to the game, they're free, but you need a ticket to go see training camp if you want to see it live. And that way they can control how many people go there. They've now built shade for you sitting down in the bleachers. They've got chairs now out there. You're not just sitting on metal bleachers in the middle of the sun at 10 o'clock in the morning or at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a lot more fan-friendly. Anyway, when we come back, not next week, but the following week, we will actually have real football to talk about. So in the meantime, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time on Under the Dome. Good night, everybody.